Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics. I am Evan Irwin, and we begin as we do each and every week by introducing my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Good evening.
Ruben Pressler.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Oh, we're doing fine. You guys looking quite
little spiffy.
Quite tip-top, if you would.
You dressed up for the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Got some nice duds on. Tonight we have two very special things. One will be a exclusive Aether Revolt preview. Only to us. Only ours.
Right.
That is very sweet.
Right.
It is the Treasure Keeper.
It is.
As it were. So the Treasure Keeper is cool. However, what we also have is the 2016 Magic Micsies. Hashtag the Micsies. That's right.
Yay!
Yay! And we
Hopefully
decided...
hashtag the Micsies gets nominated for hashtag of the year next year.
I know, right?
Yes.
Hashtag the Micsies if you want to talk about it, because we got some sweet categories. We created and crafted categories in ways that we could talk about things that people, in terms of like groups of stuff or groups of people, or things that aren't attached to any one person. So we're not saying that this person is bad or this thing is terrible. That, you know, it's all in generics, and you'll see what we're talking about. I'm pretty excited about it.
We tried our best to avoid any shade in our
any hard feelings.
All of our awards are in the sun.
Yeah. No, not lots and lots of shades. However, we do have a preview now. Aether Revolt is turning out to be one heck of a set.
Yes.
It's been really sweet. And so they give out our previews a couple weeks in advance so we can take a look at them and think about it, and get it ready and so on and so forth. Now, one of the cards that kind of came to mind when they sent over this card in particular, Ruben, Aaron, any particular card that jumped out at you when you read what this preview of ours does?
Yes.
Yeah, I had flashbacks to my living end days of, I don't want to give too much away, but it just the good old days of not having to pay for things and having them happen.
Nice.
I only thought of Bloodbraid Elf. Bloodbraid Elf came to mind, and this card is Bloodbraid Elf, except for in robot form.
It's a robot-y, and so we'll get to it in just 2 seconds. I would just note that take a look at we have returned, ladies and gentlemen, to the world of free spells.
It's bizarre. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. We are back. All right, so you guys, I have teased you long enough. Let's check out Treasure Keeper. It is a 4 generic mana uncommon artifact creature construct. When it dies, you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card with converted mana cost 3 or less. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put all revealed cards not cast this way on the bottom of your library in a random order, and it is a 3/3. It is a 4 mana 3/3. When it dies, you get a free spell out of it. It goes and finds a free spell.
This is like...
We've been talking about spells that have been spoiled that are just giving you free spells from your hand. This one says, no. We're going to go look, boys and girls. We're going to go find things. As if you could build your entire deck around getting this trigger and making something happen every single time.
I just can't with this card. This card is like absolutely absurd. Like we've been sitting on this one for a while, and now we actually get to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
This card's ridiculous, right? Like I'm not just kind of... the time we had Seasons Pass, we were like, this will see play in like casual, decks, or Aliantrazi might play it, and then it top 8 at a Pro Tour. This one is just overtly great. Like
it's uncommon.
I can't believe it, and it's uncommon.
It's uncommon. I can't handle it.
Yeah, the thing I like about this card, the thing I look for at spoiler season is whether or not the card exists in a vacuum. And this also works well with a lot of existing mechanics. Emerge is still a thing in this format. It is possible to sacrifice this for Emerge and get something else for your trouble, similar to something like Matter Reshaper. I think this is great.
Yeah. And if you've been paying any attention to the spoilers, there is now a new free sacrifice outlet. That, oh, by the way, also costs 3. So either this dies and gets your sack outlet, or you sack this to your sack outlet. Yeah, this card is this card's going to be a nominee for Card of the Year next year.
I look forward to the tweet from somebody saying, "Oh, look, Reed Duke is doing a deck tech with your spoiler card." Like,
right.
I'm ready to see. I just think, look. there is a level of power in the uncommons of Aether Revolt that I haven't seen in a while. Now, we'll get to some others, including one of the best removal spells that has been made in a very long time.
Yeah.
Treasure Keeper is just, it's as close to Bloodbraid as you could probably get, because you know the triggers are different and whatnot. It doesn't have haste, which is kind of a big deal. It's one of the reasons it kept Jace in check. But it's a 3/3. It's only 4 mana 3/3. Those are still respectable stats, but free spells are free spells, and wow, is this a pushed uncommon?
Yes. Quite good. 3 toughness is going to be a big deal as well, as they recently announced that Shock is going to be in the format.
Right.
And I love the idea of the Emerge, using this card for Emerge. I think that's possibly the place that it finds a home with first. But yeah, I just can't believe that we basically got the colorless expertise attached to a creature. So I think that's pretty sweet.
I am totally happy with that. This I would have not been surprised if this was rare. Let's put it that way.
No.
Oh, agreed.
Not at all.
I am pretty shocked that this is uncommon. Like, there are a lot of good uncommons in this set, but this one feels like you could just make it a rare. Like, this one just if you put your thumb over it, you would think it's a rare.
Yeah. I mean, like, you'd be like, okay, maybe it could be a little bit higher power and toughness, but no, this ability is ridiculous. You'd be, okay, it's a fine rare. And here we are at Uncommon. You're going to see multiples of them more than likely in drafts. Like, this thing is going to get you lots of free spells, 100% playable and limited, unbelievably sweet card.
Yeah. Card's great.
So, I want to thank Wizards of the Coast very, very much for our own unique spoiler.
Thank you very much.
Super, super nice. Thank you very, very much. I hope you guys enjoyed it, because we've been waiting to let you know what Treasure Keeper does. Oh my God.
Be sure and tag us. Like, if you're at the pre-release and you open this card, and especially if you're doing well with it, let us know, because we had people tagging us with their Angels of Inventions and saying, I'm using your card, and I even lost to our card. And so nothing feels better than knowing that your card is doing work somewhere. So let us know if you're doing well with it.
Yeah, man. Take photos, tag us, do all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
So I was talking around last week, or maybe a week before that, a little bit, about how I wanted to do something for a year-end type spectacle, a year-end type thing that we could do that's just ours, that no one is really else, or maybe some people are doing, but they're not doing it as much. Like, they might do one of the categories that we're talking about, but they're not doing all the categories. And I wanted to pick categories that we could again, as we mentioned earlier, no shade. We're not trying to make hard feelings. We're trying to have fun. We love Magic. Magic's great. Community's great. Culture's awesome. Silly stuff happens all year. Crazy cards get printed. Nutty stuff happens. We wanted to talk about it. And as a result, we brought ourselves to the first annual Magic Micsies. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is our award show we're going to have every single year. We can bring it back. We can talk about our favorite categories. Some categories will probably, may leave us. Some categories might be added because we look back and we go, why don't we have this category or that category? However, the Magic Micsies are here.
Yay!
So, yay! That's fantastic! Yay! Remember, hashtag the Micsies.
The Micsies.
So we wanted to start with a fun category. We're starting the 2016 Micsies with the dumbest WotC move, and whoo boy, well, there's just a plenty to swim through and pick off, and it was just a trove.
Yeah, this is the I don't know, what's the first award that they give away at most award shows, like the
technical awards,
best animated short. Oh yeah, technical awards. Yeah,
technical awards. Yeah,
I like it.
Absolutely. So here are the nominees for dumbest WotC move. The first nominee is the Proxy Policy Silliness. If you remember early in 2016,
Evan, please, it's official spoiler. Silliness.
That's right. Official. Yeah.
It's actually Proxy Policy.
It's Proxy.
But yeah, I was just going to say.
Proxy Policy was when Wizards of the Coast decided that somebody, I think it was like Wizards of the Coast customer service, said something about proxy events and how no events can use proxies, even if they're unsanctioned. That's a big deal. Everyone lost their friggin' mind. No one had any idea what was going on. Everyone started getting really worried they were going to get banned or suspended for some amount of time because, oh my God, I used proxies in this event that said I could. Now we're doing it in a store that's a WPN store, but it also has proxies in their events. Oh my God. Had to come back to where Elaine Chase had to write this treatise where she kind of explained, hey guys, it's
everybody
cool.
chill.
Would you just chill? We're sorry. Like bad, somebody said something they shouldn't have, and then somebody took it somewhere else, and before you know it's on Facebook, and then people are freaking out on Reddit, and it was amazing. It was.
By the way, we are up on Mythic Spoiler already. Well done, kids.
Well done.
It's bad when they call Elaine Chase. Like Elaine Chase is sort of like in the movies when there's the red button with the glass behind it, you smash it and you hit the Elaine Chase button. Like when Helen makes a statement, that's cute. Forsyth makes a statement, okay, fine, but it's bad when Elaine Chase has to get out of bed. Like, oh, okay, fine, and
she's like, all right, people, move over. Let me fix your stupid mess. Oh my god. So the second nominee is the standard rotation change reverting back. Now, Wizards of the Coast spent years, planned for years, to have the standard rotation shortened because, as we talked about year after year, over and over, standard has a problem of not rotating fast enough. So they said, you know what? We're going to rotate faster. You know what? Let's not do 3 set blocks. That's dumb. Let's do 2 set blocks. We'll have bunches of rotations. You remember that animated GIF, right? You know what I'm talking about. If you're a Magic player, you've seen the animated GIF in Mark Rosenhart's article. It showed up a bunch of times. This is showing you how it's going to work because otherwise, the craziness is going to happen, and we're going to have to do something about standard if that's not the solution. And then it happens.
They're like JK.
They're like JK in like a week. They're JK in like a week.
It was not a lot of time. They just were like, we have this whole plan. We even made this GIF. Like that's science.
That GIF was
science.
A big deal.
It was in the budget.
And then they were like, oops. Well, turns out everyone wants to play with their cards for 6 months longer, so they reverted back. It immediately, they just pulled back in the parking lot, and that was just a whole thing.
So that was certainly done. Next up, Aaron, can you tell me about the next nominee, real quickly?
So, for those who don't know, Magic got its start at GenCon a really, really long time ago, back when GenCon was still in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is my hometown, which is where I live. I can remember being a teenager and sleeping in the hallway because GenCon was 24 hours and I didn't want to miss a thing. I wanted to play Magic from sunup to sundown. GenCon is now in Indianapolis, and slowly but surely, Wizards of the Coast and specifically Magic has been pulling out of GenCon. And as of this past year, they completely pulled out to the extent where Pastimes had to completely take on the burden of running the Magic events at GenCon. And typically, Wizards provides some support for you in terms of helping you get the judges, helping you get product. But from what I understand, Pastimes and people like to rag on Pastimes, but Pastimes took on 100% of the burden and got the events going. And had it not been for them, there would have literally been no Magic at GenCon. And to me, that's just unheard of. It's like, that's kind of where you came from, and that's kind of, forgetting your roots. And I just can't imagine a GenCon with no Wizards of the Coast products and specifically no Magic products. And that just felt like a huge misfire to me. Like, are you serious? Like,
wow. So so that was a thing. The next nominee, Ruben, you want to cover this next nominee for us?
Well, as you may or may not know, at the beginning your end step, draw a card. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, its controller becomes the Monarch. That's the text that is on the Monarch token that is included in certain packs of Conspiracy, Take the Crown. The Monarch being one of the highlight abilities from the set. The problem, of course, being they forgot a word in that sentence, the word being of at the beginning of your end step is what the sentence should say. And this was sent out in every box of a major release set from Magic the Gathering, a subsidiary of Wizards of the Coast, which is owned by
Hasbro.
That's right. Yeah. Now, we didn't mention this one on the thing. However, I do think it's also worth mentioning that the first printing of Kaladesh did not have energy counter tokens.
Yeah, that one's a little weird too. That one is not great.
It almost got there, but I'm telling you it's close. However, lastly, the last dumb WotC move nominee is that the Magic Coverage Summit didn't include anyone from Channel Fireball or Star City Games. If only you could talk to people who've been doing this for years. Sadness.
Yeah,
all right.
I mean...
So, drum roll. Aaron, who wins?
Pulling out of GenCon. Unforgivable. Unforgivable.
It is... Yeah, so congratulations to pulling out of GenCon. You have won the first ever Mixie
Yay!
For dumbest WotC move. Well done.
All right, fantastic. All right, so next up, the category of the smartest WotC move. If we're going to rag on them for some things we felt were real dumb, we might as well give them some love and tell them what the smartest thing they did this year was.
Absolutely.
This past year. So this past year, they did something I had advocated for years.
Yep.
They dropped Modern as a Pro Tour format. Thank you, Wizards.
Rude.
Yes.
That's rude.
Yes, you got it. You did it. You did a great job. You experienced Eldrazi Winter to really put a nice sort of coat on that paint right there, just to show you what you did. This is what happens. This is what happens when you have a non-rotating format as a Pro Tour format. Woo.
Yep.
So, Ruben, can you tell me how that crow tastes for the second nominee?
Well, the second nominee, as long-time viewers of this show will remember, or even short-time viewers of this show, I came out like gangbusters against Magic the Gathering online draft leagues. I said that draft leagues were stupid, that they were trying to be Hearthstone, that draft leagues ruined a part of the essence of what it means to draft, that knowing what you're passing and knowing that you passed a really good uncommon in pack 2 to the person on your left and knowing who's on your left leads you to play differently in game 1 of when you are paired against them 3 matches later. I'm a big stupid dummy. Draft leagues are great. I do nothing but play draft leagues for the Vintage Cube because you get to draft and then you get to go eat lunch and then you get to come back and play one match and then you get to go out and do whatever else and then finish your draft later. They're great. I'm wrong and I hate me.
Aaron, what's our next nominee?
So our next nominee is a young lady we know and love named Allison Luhrs. And for those who don't know, Allison started off as just a community manager for Wizards of the Coast. And slowly but surely, she's been trying other things. She's been doing flavor text. She's been coming up with names for cards. She's been writing stories. She single-handedly created the Yahenni character that we all know and love from Aether Revolt. And I love that she's been given all these opportunities to flourish. She's played a really big part in improving the Magic stories. She's an amazing person to follow on Twitter. And she's just a knockout, and everything she does is magic. And they need to let her, if God forbid they ever made like the Magic books again, she needs to be writing them. And so one of the best moves they've ever done is not only hiring her, but giving her more responsibilities because she knocks them all out of the park.
There you go. So next up for the smartest WotC move nominee is the Kaladesh Inventors Fair and Avacyn Escape Room. When Wizards goes all out and makes these huge sort of like spectacles, these incredible sort of moments that they make around the world and the lore rather, and and gets people involved and gets people excited on social media. They're taking pictures. They're wondering what's going on. Avacyn's coming out and she's all bloody and crazy. They're trying to get to the escape room and show all the cool spoilers. There's the Inventors Fair in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Super
sweet. There was Ulamog coming out of a building, I think was the first one that they did at PAX. Yeah. Right. This stuff is great. It gets people invested in the game. People who aren't, these are things that you put at other game fairs in addition to, the Avacyn thing happening at a Grand Prix, for example, or the Kaladesh Inventors Fair occurred sort of within the World Championships, but then the World Championships were also a bigger part of PAX. And so you get people who are like, oh, what's this giant, fiberglass sculpture? And you get more people invested in the game. In addition to making people who are already players get to show up and be like, hey, that's, a thing on a card that I get to take a picture next to. Like, that's great. That's, that's the taking your photo in front of Cinderella's castle. Except for me, I would rather get my photo selfie with Ulamog, right? So that's just who I am. But I love all that real world, real life stuff.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so our last nominee for smartest WotC move is the Pro Tour Team Series. It took them way too long, but it was a very smart move. They're going about it in waves. I hope they don't screw it up when they finally start implementing this. I believe it's the next Pro Tour. Pro Tour Aether Revolt will actually start to see some of the team stuff come together.
Yes.
So people getting their teams together, their brands together, all the things like their jerseys and stuff together, that'll be a big deal. I hope they don't screw it up. However, Ruben, who wins the smartest Wizards of the Coast move for 2016?
It is my honor and privilege to present the award for smartest Wizards of the Coast move for the year 2016 to Draft Leagues.
Yeah.
You know, the reason we thought about this one for a while. There were a lot of good things that Wizards did this year, but the reason why we ended up picking draft leagues is because we rag on Magic Online a lot. Yeah. And this one was just such a home run, knock it out of the park decision, as it turns out, that they needed to get their due. So that I think that there were a lot of deserving nominees. There were even lots of other deserving things that didn't end up making the final nominee list, like getting cosplay more involved in Magic and embracing new and different formats diversity. And things like that, and embracing diversity. But draft leagues we wanted to highlight because we make fun of Magic Online quite a bit. But you know what? You done good this time.
Very good.
They got it right, and we appreciate that. So our next category, we're going to start moving through these a little bit quicker, is Hashtag of the Year. We only have 3 nominees in this category. In the category of Hashtag of the Year, we have Hashtag Baywatch. We have hashtag Pay the Pros.
Right.
Which, quick recap for now, Baywatch is because, Aaron may or may not like this person named Reed Duke, may or may not call him Bay, may or may not look for him in the Baywatch, hashtag Baywatch. Pay the Pros was when Wizards decided to change the rewards they were going to give pros for the following year from making platinum status. Everyone lost their mind. No one thought it was a good idea. Pretty quickly backed out of that one. However, it became a global trending hashtag. It really rallied the community in ways that I haven't seen in a long, long time.
Absolutely.
However, our third nominee is WotC staff. Hashtag WotC staff.
Hashtag WotC staff.
Because it's not...
Because they decided that's a thing that needed to happen.
Because somebody, I'm sure it was a lawyer, who was like, guys, there's this 0.0001% chance that something stupid happens because you don't put this in every tweet you do from here into eternity. And someone was like, you got it. It went into a policy manual went into emails went into managers telling the people. All of a sudden, we got hashtag WotC staff for the rest of our lives.
Right.
Great.
Honorable mention, not nominated, but honorable mention to Trans Mafia, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that was a thing. But of the Magic Mike's themed hashtags, Baywatch takes the cake.
Baywatch had to take the cake. However, the winner is hashtag Pay the Pros.
It has to be. It has to be Pay the Pros. It was worldwide trending for a long time. It was an issue on our show for a month in a row. It was a huge deal, and I definitely think that it deserves this one.
Absolutely.
Right. So we want to take a little bit of time here before we move on to additional awards. We want to take a few minutes to cover some serious subject, in particular the In Memoriam segment. Now, over this past year, we've lost some incredible members of the Magic the Gathering community. We're not necessarily going to name every single last one of them, but we do hope to name or at least spotlight some of the largest community presences or those that we felt sort of the most. And for this In Memoriam this year, we have Christopher Rush, and we have Wayne England. And those were 2 incredible artists who did amazing work on Magic. Their work will always be loved. There's Aaron with the Black Lotus mouse pad, which is amazing. Yeah. Chris Rush, in terms of what he did for Magic, unbelievable. Wayne England, incredibly impacting pieces. Like, these artists, gave things to the game more than the sum of their parts. Like, there's more about these people than I think just their artwork on a card. It means more than that. You guys have any thoughts on these 2?
I
think. Oh, sorry, you first.
I mean, both of these men were just completely formative in my upbringing. From their early artwork, and then they kept being prolific. They were there early, and then continued to make more as the years went on. Having played Magic for over 2/3 of my life, it's sad that both these men died in, I think, back-to-back days in February, and so it was quite heartbreaking at the time, and still looking back, it's super sad that we won't have Wayne England doing, he did the command cycle from Lorwyn. Christopher Rush, of course, did Power 9 pieces, and is well known for Lotus Bloom. For those of you who are newer, was a callback to Black Lotus from earlier on. So, and they both have careers outside of Magic as well. You might recall that Christopher Rush had was memorialized within World of Warcraft as a gardener of lotuses in one of the world's cities. So, it's terribly sad when artists pass away, and we've had a lot of artists of various types pass away this year: musicians, television, movie actors, and of course painters and sculptors and things like that. And Wayne England and Christopher Rush will be greatly, greatly missed.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's two things I think of Christopher Rush. I remember the GP immediately after his passing, and someone took a picture of the table. And I think there was somebody there, like maybe his agent or a family member, but it was not the same. Like, you're so used to seeing everything and Chris's smiling face, and to see like a sign or to see a person there. And I was like, man, that one just, that was a little hard. And I think the other thing I like about Chris, you mentioned, Ruben, that he's played other games. And, there are some of the original Magic artists that have tried to distance themselves from Magic. I remember there was an art book that I had read that had, I don't remember the name of it or many details, but it covered a lot of like the art history. And I was really surprised how many of the old school artists were like, well, I do other things too, and like they were kind of sassy about it. And like, I have a lot of love for the old school artists like Therese Nielsen that will always have a place in their heart for Magic. The ones that aren't too good for Magic now, or the ones who think of it as, oh, well, I was just starting out or whatever. And Chris was one of those who always appreciated his Magic audience. He understood the impact that his art had, and he was always happy to be at events. You didn't get that feeling of, oh, I've just got a bill to pay, or I don't really understand the big deal. No, he completely embraced it, and I think that was great.
Yeah, I got to meet him when I was at Grand Prix, New Jersey, for the big Legacy event, for what had all the Brainstorm products, and there was like 4,000 or 5,000 people there, and it was crazy. And there was an infinite line for him, and he was always nice and cordial and smiling and shaking hands, and it was really sweet. And I'm glad I got to interact with him, if not just a small amount. Just a little bit. And so In Memoriam is not just going to cover those community members we lost, but also some of the community things that we lost. Some things that we don't have in Magic as of 2017. That happened in 2016, that ended in 2016. Ruben, can you tell us a little bit about what ended in 2016 for In Memoriam?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing that ended, sadly, in 2016 is the Sunday Super Series.
Woo!
We will no longer have the Sunday Super Series as a part of Magic the Gathering. The last Sunday Super Series final has occurred, or is occurring soon.
Did anyone know when it occurred?
Look, you might recall that last year, myself and AJ Soccer flew ourselves to Seattle because we wanted it covered, and now they're probably covering it.
Oh, they are covering it instead of covering GP Louisville.
Oh, that's right. I knew that. Well, that's a
the
little
trade-off. Well, that's
okay.
Good.
Sure.
Or no. I think the The LRR thing is this weekend, and then oh wait, is it the same time?
Might be the same time.
It might be.
In any case, Sunday Super Series was a weird side event that they tried to turn into a main event at GPs, where if you didn't make day 2, you could try to compete in this other side event thing to win cash and prizes, and didn't really have an audience.
They used to call it the Super Sadness Series.
I hated it. I absolutely hated it.
It was a super weird thing that just, I like that they tried to do something like that, but it was not that one could have also been in the list of dumbest WotC moves, but that would have been 3 years ago when they started it. The Sunday Super Series, no more. And also no more the StarCityGames.com Players Championship event in its current form. The last one, of course, being won by Joseph Lassette. No longer a part of the Magic community. Evan and I were a big part of the formation, or the not the formation, but the inauguration of that. We were both there when it began, I should say.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting passing of that event. So no more Players Championship, no more #SCG PC for the rest of the time.
There you go. So let's move back into some kind of silly categories because they're fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Most hated card. The Micsies for most hated card. Our first nominee, Ruben, tell me about a magical legendary werewolf, would you?
People have wanted to have a legendary werewolf that was super cool and super sweet to come out so that they could have a werewolf commander. And then they finally printed a werewolf commander but it wasn't super sweet. So among the most hated Magic cards of 2016 is going to be Ulrich of the Krallenhorde, who turns into
Krallenhorde.
Who transforms into Ulrich Uncontested Alpha, which currently goes for $1.11 as your mythic werewolf legendary creature. Wow. It was universally panned by everybody. They were like, give us a werewolf legend. And then they were like, here's your werewolf legend. And they were like, give us another werewolf.
Yeah.
This is not okay.
Could you please not give us like that werewolf legend again?
People were more excited about Arlen Cord even. Like Arlen Cord saw more hype than this card.
Absolutely.
Yeah, $1.11 worth every penny. The next nominee for most hated card of 2016 has to be Emrakul, the Promised End. The card that showed up that people I recall the initial reaction being like, this is like, it's sweet, it's cool, there's the number 13 on there, okay, it's 13 mana, that's great. Like, you're not actually going to be able to cast this. Like before the Pro Tour, there like no Emrakul showed up in the standard events that happened before it. Everyone was like, yeah, this is like a cool splashy rare, but come on, let's get real. And then the Pro Tour happened, and then we've been living in Emrakul standard ever since. Even if other things have popped up, whether it's Blue White Flash, whether it's AEtherworks Marvel, it's Emrakul's environment, and we're just living in it, and we have lived in it for a long time. You know what Emrakul promised? The end of our standard format.
Yep.
Irony.
Yeah, Emrakul made standard super homogenized. It made you unable to play certain archetypes simply by the fact that you would be playing cards that could ruin your own deck. So it's a big problem.
It's an issue. However, for our next nominee, Aaron, would you tell us a little bit about our next most hated card nominee?
All right, so this nominee, we nominated Collected Company. I personally was not in love with the Coco. I was never in love with the Coco. This card came out shortly after Birthing Pod was banned, which kind of didn't make any sense to me, where it's like the reasons for banning Birthing Pod were quite sound. They were talking about how if they're going to be printing more creatures, that this card is inevitably going to get better and better. And then they go ahead and release this card. And this card allowed Melira to come back. Melira combo Avacyn Company was allowed to remain a thing, largely thanks to this card. Modern Elves got a little kick with this card as well. But it really showed off in Standard. We saw it with like the Aristocrat style decks, and then all of a sudden Reflector Mage came around. And then this could be Coco'd into that. And then towards the end, you could Coco into New Thalia. And cards that were meant to target this just didn't matter. You could bring in Hallowed Moonlight, and they didn't care. Yep. You could bring in, something like Kaladesh, and they'd have a way to deal with that. And it was just a really obnoxious card. It lasted for we started 2016 with this card being dominant. And by the time rotation happened in September, people were like, just get rid of it. Like, I don't know anybody. And in fact, I know people who are hesitant to get into Frontier, which we'll talk about later, because of this card. They're like, I don't want to go back to Collected Company again. And it was just a ludicrous card. I don't understand why it needed to be a thing, and I don't know anybody who misses it.
This is highlighted for me. By the way, with a 2-hour match of Standard that was the Advanced Company Mirror, like an hour-long game 2 for BBD at the World Championships. It's just like there's so many bad things that occurred as a result of Coco.
Yeah, it was gross. But our next nominee is AEtherworks Marvel. Now, AEtherworks Marvel has been... It was cool because it was splashy, and it introduced Kaladesh. It introduced energy for the first time. That was the first energy card we ever saw. And people had just lost their minds. This is a cool new resource. This resource does a thing. Oh my god, it lets you look at 6 cards. Oh my god, it lets you cast it, which gets you all the cast triggers. Oh, this is going to be totally sweet. It creates repetitive, overpowered moments that can often just win, or I guess sometimes lose, but usually just win you the game on the spot. And as a result, it's got a lot of animosity. There's not a lot of love. Now, the people who play it clearly love it. But just like our next nominee, Aaron, can you tell me something that people play and may love, but everyone else may play against and not love?
So this was a card that didn't necessarily come out in 2016, but I feel like 2016 was the year where people really kind of had enough of it, and that's Sensei's Divining Top. Sensei's Divining Top is banned in Modern, largely because it makes games take long. It's painful for coverage. It is a card where even if you don't play Legacy, even if you don't even really know what Miracles does, if you're trying to watch coverage, nothing turns you off like Sensei's Divining Top. Commentators hate it. Players hate it. There's nothing worse than facing a new Miracles player. It just does ludicrous things. Miracles, we've gone on many tangents about how Miracles has sort of dominated in Legacy for so long and sort of remained unchecked. It is the card that people want to see out of Legacy, just get the axe. And I really feel like, 2016 was the year that sort of solidified, like, no, really, you got to go. And so I'm hoping to God when Aether Revolt comes out that this card goes, because it's just ludicrous.
So it is now time to announce the most hated card the Micsies goes to, wait for it, Collected Company. Yay! Oh my God. Collected Company, you are the most hated card of 2016. Get out.
Done.
Oh my God, we suffered through that card.
They only hate us because they ain't us.
Oh no.
No.
We just hate them because we ain't them.
I would note that there were a couple honorable mentions in this category. Was Peregrine Drake that got an emergency ban in Pauper. Wizards, thank you very much for that, for God's sake. Another honorable mention would be Smuggler's Copter. However, Smuggler's Copter, it's only been there a couple months. Let's remember this. Now, Coco, we lived with and we waited for, and we hoped it would finally get out of our format.
Right. Copter might be a nominee in this category next year. So you can keep an eye out for that one.
It's certainly doing a fine job of making its way on there. Let's put it that way. So, just like we have the most hated card of 2016, we have the most loved card of 2016. Which one made us feel all warm and fuzzy? Which one really showed the best of what Magic could do?
We have some pretty angry characters for our most loved cards.
We got some angry
because
ones.
We identify with them. We see their pain. We understand their suffering. Who hasn't been jilted by a 2,000 to 5,000-year-old black-white planeswalker vampire and wanted to burn his house down?
Come on, dude. It's like Tuesday.
Who hasn't? Who among us?
That's like a Tuesday.
That's like a Tuesday. Who among us hasn't wanted to walk over to our boyfriend's manor and light it on fire and turn all his vampire buddies to stone? Right up top, sister. That's where I'm at. So the first nominee in this category is Nahiri the Harbinger.
Yes.
Not only because her story is great, but also because that haircut, love it, and also she's a multi-format all-star. She brought control kind of back to Modern, which hadn't been a thing for a while. Modern Control couldn't finish off games fast enough. You would have needed to activate Celestial Colonnade like 5 times in a row, and that wasn't going to do it. Nahiri, you could just Emrakul people out of the game. Also super flavorful because Nahiri is the Harbinger of Emrakul, which was that was the best flavor match in competitive Magic in a while. So that's why she is a nominee.
That was a good one. Aaron, who's our next nominee?
I nominated Avacyn the Purifier because I was at GP Detroit when Christine Sprinkle came out as Avacyn from the Cathedral when they were doing that escape room type thing. And if you look at the header picture on her Twitter account, there was not a person in the room who did not stop what they were doing when she came out. Like, all eyes were on her. Like, you just see her and thousands of people all looking at her. You can't find a single person past that crowd that's like, oh, I'm just going to go eat a hot dog. No, if you were at Detroit, you were looking at her. This was a card that we loved. We loved Avacyn. She could do no wrong. The card was dope. It would have been really terrible if she went through all that trouble and came out looking cool and the card was terrible. We need the transform. The minute Avacyn dropped in Standard, there was the Avacyn test. If you were going to play anything in Standard, you had to pass that test, and you still have to pass that test. I love the card. I love her, and just to see her go down like that was just like, what? And you're taking Avacyn, you're warping Avacyn. What could be a bigger threat than that?
All right. So our next two nominees, so we can get through this as quickly as possible. I know we're going to talk about maybe a few spoilers from Aether Revolt. Our next most loved card nominee is Thraben Inspector. This one absolutely came from me. One of the best one drops of all time. It is freaky. It is absolutely freaky how good Thraben Inspector is. I swear to God, I didn't see it. And even when she started to show up like everywhere in every deck, I was just like, that is strange.
It's super weird. Yeah.
It's just it's like a squire. It's a really cool squire. Oh my God, it makes a thing. Oh my God, it works with all these mechanics. Oh my God, it's making artifacts. Artifacts working
with compared her to Mother of Runes. Like, that's big.
It's one of the best one. It's better than the best one drops of all time. I know it's ridiculous, but everything it does makes, like, just works. It works in standard. It works in every mechanic they wanted to use. Just the Thraben Inspector is so good. It's a little scary how good that and playable that card is. However, the next most loved card nominee is Harmless Offering. well, where? You know, it's look at cat. Little Jazzy on his butt. Little Jazzy butt.
And also the fact that you get to have donate again. People were really hoping for that effect for a long time, to give stuff to your opponent. And of course with Demonic Pact. So Kitty Cat Pact was a deck for a little while, and that made everybody happy. So that's a great one. And obviously Howard Lyon just killed it with the art on Harmless Offering.
Isn't it funny that all of our most loved cards are from Shadow's Block?
Yeah, well, we hadn't had enough time with the Kaladesh cards yet, but I have some loved cards. But this is for everybody, most everybody around, and also all of our most loved cards are either red, white, or both.
Well, it wasn't like Oath was going to make the cut.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, a little bit of shade.
Wow.
In any case.
Can't see the sun from over there. Anyway, the most loved card goes to Avacyn, the Purifier. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations, Avacyn. You did a great job at making everyone really excited. Everyone was thrilled to see her. The card was super powerful. Incredible debut. Incredible card.
Wrinkle.
Sweet impact. I'm glad. It's really cool looking back at how awesome Avacyn was and how she stopped being awesome. Like, it is good to have an awesome period and a not awesome period.
Correct.
Emrakul doesn't know what that looks like. Emrakul's like, whatever.
Not yet.
Not yet. I do what I want. God,
it's the end. That's what happens at the end.
Next up is one of the categories that I made. I wanted to make the Micsies for this category, amongst others, but this one in particular, the 2016 Drama of the Year.
Girl.
There has been some dramatic drama all up in
Girl
here.
Awards, yeah.
The Girl World Awards, It's the Girl Micsie right here. Now look, there is drama on drama. Magic always has it. It's great. The first drama nominee of the year, Ruben, will you explain it to us?
Sure. So the first of the nominees is the MTG buyouts drama that occurred kind of over the summer, and it's still kind of ongoing, but it came to a head, I'm going to say around August, maybe September, about a man named Craig Berry, who I know pretty well, and some other folks who were doing things like buying all of the copies of Moat that existed and were online and available. All of the Gadok Teagues. You would wake up on a random day, and then just some card would be like, oh, well, now every Blood Moon is $40 for no reason, except for that somebody bought them all. And then it came to a head again when one Mr. Martin Shkreli got involved in Magic for about a week and was like, hey, this seems like something I could screw up. I'll just put 1/10 of 1% of my income into it and ruin a bunch of people's lives. He didn't end up doing that, but it was a really funny week, and so that's why the MTG buyouts was one of the nominees for drama of 2016.
There was definitely an oh my god moment when Martin Shkreli, under investigation for securities fraud, one of the most hated people on the internet, all of a sudden is like, this Magic thing, and go ahead.
I was going to say, it was ironic because it was right around the time of Shadows over Innistrad and Eldritch Moon, and the whole plot line of Nahiri summoning Emrakul. There were literally people in this community that were begging Shkreli to get involved, and I was like, you're literally bringing Emrakul into our community. Could you not?
You could definitely see, there was the half of oh my god, please don't anyone speak to him. Let's just not look at him.
Yeah.
He'll go away.
His eyesight is based on movement, so don't just hold still.
And then you had the other guys in the second one, oh my god, would you please? Can we please help you? Black Lotuses are over here. Here's a finance tool over here. Right. Please destroy everything, please.
So that was a fun 2 weeks.
That was a fun. Now, our next nominee for Drama of the Year is the judge program. Now, there were suspensions because Oath of the Gatewatch had a bunch of big leaks. Oh my God. There were 2 lawsuits. There are lawsuits right now that are rocking the industry, and 2 of them that are rocking the gaming industry are happening between Magic judges and Wizards of the Coast right now in federal court. Those things are waiting to happen, and they're going to see whether judges are employees, because, and this is not just for Magic, this is actually happening to other conventions. Other conventions are having problems because of what they'll say is you can volunteer at, let's just say, you know, we made the Magic Mike's convention, and you can say, well, you can come and be a volunteer at the Magic Mike's con, and we will give you like a free pass and a t-shirt and maybe a meal or something like that, and you'll work 10 to 12 hours. When you do that, well, suddenly you're compensating someone for volunteer work, quote unquote volunteer work. You can't volunteer for a for-profit company. You can't do it. It's not how it works. So at that point, you become an employee. At that point, you need taxes. You need benefits. You need things like lunch breaks and certain things that they have to do in order to employ someone, and getting W-9s and filing with taxes and all that good stuff. And so that whole thing kind of combined with the animosity that a lot of judges felt when a lot of judges were suspended because what they felt they were doing for Oath of the Gatewatch and the Oath of the Gatewatch leaks, where they were trying to help everyone. They were trying to say, hey, look, you know, this is where we found them. This is where they came from, but they were being punished. So between that craziness and then Elaine Chase had to step in. They hit the button and she came in. She's like, all right, you freaking people, this is ridiculous. They're back. Their records are not admonished. This isn't on their permanent record. This is ridiculous. Just go back to your everyday lives. And then she slammed the door, and we all felt terrible.
Right.
That's what happened. But I do think all of the judge program drama from 2016 was definitely my nominee. Now, Aaron, can you tell us a little bit about our next nominee?
So I'm going to preface this by saying that we love this nominee. We respect their contributions to the community. Yes. They have an amazing eye for deck building and for metagames.
But boy, did they get into dust-ups a lot.
Our nominee is Jeff Hoagland versus the internet. So if you follow Twitter at all, there has been Jeff Hoagland versus Tom Ross, which I personally lived for. I mean, I was in heaven. There was Jeff Hoagland versus Joe Lissette, which, I mean, come on, money in the bank. Then Jeff Hoagland versus Chris Anderson, which led to like a chair being thrown or something like that. Jeff Hoagland versus Todd Anderson, Jeff Hoagland versus MTGO. It was just Jeff Hoagland versus everybody. And it was just the kind of things that you live for, where you're just like, oh my God. Like
and again, this is nothing but love. Jeff,
yes.
Jeff, you're a cool, awesome person.
Absolutely.
You know, and I know that there was a lot of times in 2016 when it was, oh my God, did you see this thread, that thing, this happened? You know, there was a lot of that. You know, we it's all love, Jeff. But moving up, our next nominee is Kent Ketter and Card Hoarder. Now, Kent Ketter had a problem because on camera he decided that when his opponent played Rest in Peace, and he was like, let me move this card out of the graveyard, and then let me move it back because he never said anything, even though I'm not sure if he did or did not see me move that, and somehow argued with the judge and somehow won the fact that he didn't exile his graveyard for his conflict rate, which was a big deal. I mean, all these things combined together, unbelievable drama over what happens, what does it mean to be on a team, what you're responsible for, like how people look at you in the community, the things we want to put on stream, the way that we want to act, and the things we want to reward. Card Hoarder was okay with it. Now Card Hoarder was against it. They changed their mind. It was crazy.
It's a big. We had a long discussion about it too, and it was where's the line between you have to try to win the game and you have to respect the game, but in an unwritten rules way. We got into a lot of inside baseball of like, this is expected, this isn't expected, this is how the game's evolved, these are what the Wild West days used to look like. This was a bit of a controversy, not only because of the interactions on Twitter, but within our show. We spent a long time discussing the ins and outs of this issue. So super unique topic, and I'm glad that it was a nominee.
Mm-hmm.
So now, the winner of Drama of the Year for 2016, the Micsies goes to the Judge Program. Oh my God.
Yeah.
There has been nothing as weird, scary, freaky, confusing, sometimes just straight off-putting as what in the world is going on with the Judge Program. And you're going to see I think you're going to see some big changes happening because they're already happening for other organizations. There's already been this big dust up in Arizona because a con had to go to volunteers, but they couldn't run them, so they had another organization run them. People are having to pay to enter that organization, which means you have to pay to volunteer at a con. A whole big thing. I'm just telling you, mark our words. This is going to be a thing moving forward.
I know that we have a lot of memes within our show. We got the Trans Mafia, we got the Baywatch, we got the way I pronounce S's, we got our various impersonations. But another one we got is, Evan, how often do we talk about the judge program?
Whew.
Right? That's just something we say like every episode, and it's going to come to a head this year. That it definitely deserves to win this category.
There's a lot of things happening that you may wonder why they're happening, and I'm almost certain they can be tied back to the judge program, and that's all I'm going to say.
Fair enough.
Just keep your eyes peeled, eyes akimbo. That's all I'm saying.
We're going to take a look at our next category.
Eyes akimbo. That's the name I danced under in college.
That's my drag name. That's my drag name.
Yeah, that's my drag name.
Wow. So artwork of the year, the Micsies for artwork of the year. We have a few awesome potential nominees. Ruben, would you talk about our first one?
Well, the reason why I'm talking about the first one is because you cannot pronounce this name for the gosh darn life of you.
You got that right. I ain't saying it. Yeah, you make me saying it. I can't do it.
It's Kineas and Tiro of Meletis.
Kineos.
Kineas.
Kinercron.
Kitty Cat and Taco of Martin. So Kineas and Tiro of Meletis is our first nominee, in that it confirms a LGBTQ relationship that was hinted at, not necessarily confirmed, in Guardians of Meletis, a common from Theros, which are sculptures of these two great warriors from the world of Theros, who built who built Akros together, basically. And so the art is beautiful and has a nice callback to another piece of art from Theros. That is, I'm forgetting the name of that card. It's Anax and Sinete, where it's sort of a reflective image of that art. And it's very classic and Greek inspired, and it has the Guardians guarding the harbor to Meletis in the background. And Kineas and Tiro of Meletis is high on my list.
Absolutely. So up next on our nominee list, that I voted for this one, and this is Bracella Voice of Nightmares. Now, Bracella Voice of Nightmares was Gisela and what was her name? Bruna, thank you very much.
Bruna and Gisela.
Right, had come together into one unholy, freaky, crazy, demonic-ish, Eldrazi-fueled monster that was so big and overwhelming. It took up 2 cards. It was the marquee meld thing to do. And it was so weird and freaky and crazy, and the artwork was amazing, and there was a story point, and there was a shock factor, and it was a brand new mechanic. It was just kind of everything for me locked into place as to, oh my god, this is an artwork that will, like, you can, it's a point in time, and you will not forget when you saw it, and you will not forget what it's about, and it will be important to to Innistrad moving forward. Whatever they want to do with Innistrad, they have to figure out what they want to do with Bracella, because that was a pretty big deal. Yeah. However,
it reminds me that not only do I love angels, but I also love spaghetti. Delicious.
It is National Spaghetti Day.
It's
there you go.
Spaghetti Day. Okay, that's the thing. I'm hungry. Thinking about crazy freakazoid weird angels. Aaron, can you tell us about our next nominee for Artwork of the Year?
So our next nominee is Chandra Torch of Defiance, and this was the card that was to usher in Kaladesh. They wanted to establish that Kaladesh was a Chandra block, it was a Chandra-themed storyline, and then they released the card. And this was the card that there was a lot of hype around this card. People were bragging up to be like the next Jace the Mind Sculptor in league with that kind of card. Magali Villanueva had a big year. This really kind of cemented her as a force to be reckoned with in the Magic art world. And again, if this art would have flopped, it would have been terrible. Again, going going back to Christine Sprinkle, Christine played Chandra, shows up at PAX. They have Christine coming out of the bottom of the stage like a wrestler. There's a huge screen on top with the big reveal. And again, if Christine would have come out from the bottom of the stage and the art sucked, the whole moment would have fizzled. And I believe that the hype would have been seriously affected by that. And so this art needed to be good. It was a way we'd never seen Chandra portrayed before. She's always been portrayed kind of cartoony almost. And like this, she looked real. She looked angry. She looked badass, but she still looked like she was having fun. And this art just knocked it out of the park and really just brought Kaladesh in a big way.
Yep.
Fair enough. So up next, and we have a couple nominees after. One of them is a little bit more sort of broad, but the next nominee is Cathartic Reunion. Now, this is where Chandra and her mom, they hug.
Yes.
And it's simple, but it's touching.
Yeah.
And it's unique. You don't have a lot of pieces of art in Magic that are trying to reflect moments like this. And so another Howard Lyon piece, by the way, shout out to Howard. It's just a really touching piece of art. And Aaron, it's like a hug from Jesus for you too.
It really is.
It's a hug from them Jesuses right there. I'm just saying, like, there's definitely a feeling now there's been where like angels are healing people and angels are touching people and whatever, and that's fine. Right. But this like sort of this familial bond, this mother, daughter, parent, child touching moment, haven't seen each other in a very long time. You know what I mean? Like there was so much emotion and they got it right, and it's rare that you see that much in a Magic card.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Howard Lyon clearly killing it this year. Or this past year. And our last nominee, we didn't really want to pick one. We just wanted to note as a category that the Masterpieces and the Masterpiece border was a knockout. They did a great job with that.
If you're talking art direction, Oscar, the new border, I mean, I really enjoy it, even though it's super strange and weird. I think that it's a knockout.
Yeah.
They are doing fantastic. So the winner of Best Artwork of the Year, the Micsie goes to Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Yay!
Yeah, it was a knockout piece of art. I mean, it's you can't help but remember it. It's one of those pieces of art that just sticks with you the whole time.
Absolutely.
I can't think of another, like, when I think of Chandra now as a character, that's the art I think of.
Right.
And that's a tough thing to do with an already established character.
That's true. And Magali Villanueva?
Yeah.
If I can say that correctly. I believe right now she is currently ill, so we send her best wishes.
Get well soon.
Please get well soon. You are an absolute asset to the game and the community, and you did amazing work, so congratulations on winning the Micsie for Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Let's move on to another fun category we get to talk about for 2016, and that is Format of the Year. There have been multiple formats we play. There's formats that we may not like playing. There's formats that we may not have even included on this list because we don't really like playing them that much. Format of the Year, our first nominee, Ruben, is what?
I mean, when you're talking about something that bursts onto the scene, it's very rare that you talk about an entire format. The only other one that I can really even think of is Tiny Leaders from a couple of years ago. This year, Frontier burst onto the scene and is a nominee for Format of the Year for the 2016 Micsies. It blew up in Japan and the Far East. It's been quite popular in Europe as well. And folks are, buying up cards and discussing banned lists, even though it's technically not even a sanctioned Magic format. Yeah. And so Frontier, certainly a nominee for Format of the Year.
Absolutely. So, because I can, I changed my choice literally 2 seconds ago. Because my nominee for Format of the Year, it doesn't really change much, but my nominee regardless is Cube. I think that Cube had an amazing year this year. We had our build your own cube. Everyone got to vote on it. You got to build the cubes and vote on the cubes and then play in those cubes. I thought that was super cool. I think Wizards has really embraced the idea that cubes are good, cubes are positive, they're fantastic to have, they're great to have themes to them. You have the vintage/holiday cube, which is awesome. The ability to change that stuff up, make it really interesting, and continue to be sort of something that fills us up between sets. When we're waiting on Magic Online for the new set to show up, it's great. We get to play with some overpowered toys. They let you do that. So, Aaron,
absolutely.
What is your nominee for Format of the Year?
Love it or hate it, and Lord knows there's people that like to do both. I think the Format of the Year is Modern. And it's kind of ironic that we get rid of the Modern Pro Tour, and yet Modern itself sees, I think, its biggest numbers that it's seen. Modern GPs smashed. Modern Opens. If you really get bored, go look at the Modern Open attendance versus standard attendance, and it's no contest. Modern blew the numbers out of the water. We had Modern Opens in Milwaukee, and every single one got bigger and bigger and bigger. Modern Classics are huge. Modern PTQs were big. As polarizing as the format can be, you really can play anything you want in that format. We saw Tom Ross win an open with 8-rack, green, white, Tron, taking turns. I mean, you can literally do anything you want to in the format, and it's glorious right now. I think that banning Splinter Twin and Amulet was good for the format. Eldrazi Winter happened, and that wasn't so great, but I feel like since then it's been beautiful, and I really think this was a big, big year for Modern.
I absolutely agree. And our last nominee for Format of the Year is Commander. Commander has had an amazing year. They had an unbelievably nice release for 2016. The 2016 Commander decks, just so good. Wizards of the Coast, you killed it. You did an amazing job. I want you to keep that crap up. Don't let that stuff go down because, wow, you did absolutely amazing. So Commander killed it. Now, our Format of the Year winner is the Micsie goes to Frontier. Oh my God. Yep. Now, let's know.
Evan, how does that make you feel?
I'm just saying. If they make Frontier Masters, come on. How weird is that? And I'm just going to go ahead and give you the spoiler alert. 5 years from now, they're going to do it again, and they're going to call it New Frontier.
Love it.
And they're going to be like, oh my God, it's so clever.
Because the name of that format is so good, it has to happen. So,
of course.
You have dug your own grave, sir.
I know. I still think it's a line in the sand. I still think it's arbitrary, but...
So you might say it's a shallow grave?
Wow. Also good.
Wow. All right, so we're going to move on here. Our winner for Format of the Year is Frontier. Set of the Year, the Micsie for Set of the Year. Now, there have been lots of sets released this year. Clearly, Wizards has absolutely been amping up their release schedule. We have 4 this year. One of them is even in Standard.
Yeah,
as it turns out.
Imagine.
So, the first nominee for the Micsie for Set of the Year is Eternal Masters. Ruben, can you tell us a little bit about the set?
Yeah, so we've had a couple of expansions of Modern Masters in the past, and people were wondering whether Eternal Masters would be a thing at any point, or Legacy Masters. There was a Vintage Masters release online a couple of years ago, but Eternal Masters wrapped that all up together, and it was a hugely anticipated release for a number of reasons. And it came out like gangbusters. People really enjoyed the release of the set. There were a couple of misses that we discussed when the set came out. We were a little confused why balance was in the set, for example. But for the most part, the new art on Force of Will, the new art on Wasteland, and of course the huge impact that the reprinting and first common printing of Peregrine Drake had a huge impact on Pauper as a format. So you got lots of new copies of cards that were not super common, things like Natural Order and Enlightened Tutor, and of course Enlightened Tutor getting new art treatment as well. People really enjoyed Eternal Masters quite a bit, and the biggest thing for me for Eternal Masters is that it something like tripled or quadrupled the number of Mana Crypts that are available, because as you may know, that Mana Crypt previous to this year was not available outside of book promo form, and then they printed this, and of course also printed as a masterpiece. But I think that Eternal Masters was a huge hit, and I'm super excited to see what they do for Eternal Masters 2.
So the next nominee for the Micsies of Set of the Year is Commander 2016. Now, Wizards of the Coast finally made 4-color commanders. They made the ability to have, they had a brand new mechanic that allowed you to team up with a 2-color commander to team up with another 2-color commander, and together they could be one awesome commander who did really cool things. They both had their own little triggers, and that was super cool. And they also made 4-color, legitimate 4-color legendary creatures. And not even like the hybrid stuff that I was expecting, like actual 4 different mana symbols commanders. That was a big deal. I live in a world, particularly whether it's either Gathering Magic that is a bit more casual focused than a lot of the Magic content sites, and the fact that I'm in an office where a lot of Commander is played. Let me tell you, people lost their minds over Commander 2016. They were absolutely over the moon at how cool it was, all the sweet cards in there. Like when Atraxa Praetor's Voice got spoiled, like that alone made that deck more expensive. When they just showed up, like, whoa, what? I get this crazy angel, this Phyrexian angel. This is insane. And then all of a sudden, it's like $5 or $10 more than it used to be. It's crazy. So this set of decks was really, really terrific. I think they did a great job. And Commander 2016, I think, is worthy of being in the conversation of the Set of the Year Mixie.
Yes.
Aaron, can you tell us about our next nominee for Set of the Year?
So the next nominee is Conspiracy 2, and I think we all loved Conspiracy 1. It was a home run. People were really excited to go back. They really lured us in with the storyline of Brago being killed by Kaya, who was the first Black Planeswalker. Wizards even went so far as to hire a consultant because they acknowledged that we don't really have anybody who knows anything about this, so we want to do it right. Kaya also had a really awesome mechanic with the flicker, which was really cool. And also, it just seems like they had no cares. Like they just wanted to have fun. They kind of threw up their hands and were like, we're going to give you guys all of the things. And there were no holds barred on this one. There were also some cards that reinvigorated some older archetypes. Sanctum Prelate now sees play in Legacy, Death, and Taxes. Recruiter of the Guard also was huge for people who couldn't necessarily get their hands on Imperial Recruiter. Allurin is becoming a thing again. Allurin is going to bust out at GP Louisville, predicted to bust out because of this card. Imperial Recruiter held that deck back. Recruiters seeing play in Death and Taxes as well. And this set was just so much fun. Like you can tell that whoever made this just didn't have a care in the world and was like, let's let them have everything. And it was great. The Monarch ability,
The Monarch ability was fantastic. There were a ton of amazing reprints in Conspiracy 2. I loved the like when they first started announcing it and the set name kept changing. That was actually brilliant.
The marketing where it started out as the Reign of Brago, and then they were like, oops, by the way, Brago's been assassinated. The maximum number of cards on the page went from 221 to 220.
Gold.
And it was called the Empty Throne. Like the marketing for that was just great. Yeah, I think that it was. Now you may recall, at the beginning, your end step. But other than that, everything about. I played a lot of Conspiracy too. I honestly did. I had a great time. Another card that's expected to bust out in Louisville is Leovold, Emissary of Trust.
Yes, it's you.
Oh, I am the voice of. So hopefully Leovold has a good weekend. In any case, I loved Conspiracy 2, and it's definitely worthy of the nomination.
Absolutely. So our last nominee for Set of the Year is Kaladesh. Kaladesh gave us vehicles. Kaladesh gave us energy. Kaladesh gave us another artifact block. It doesn't appear like it's busted, but we don't really know because Emrakul exists. And we don't really know beyond that because AEtherworks Marvel exists. Okay.
Sure.
It's fine. However, really cool designs, super fun format in terms of like limited. I enjoyed limited for it. I think vehicles are awesome. What they did to Magic, even though they really don't know what they're doing, it's great to see them not know what they're doing. It's very much reminiscent for me for equipment because I was there when they made equipment and they're like, oops, the equipment is all too good. Oops, the vehicles are all ridiculous. Like, oh, sorry, vehicles are reaching vintage. Maybe we pushed it a little hard. Just a day in the office.
Another cool thing that I wanted to point out about Kaladesh, other than of course energy being huge, being another artifact set, and also inventions being a thing, it continued the masterpieces theme, adding artifacts now, is the fact that for the first time, we have these flavor cards. We have a watermark on cards like Inventor's Fair. Story cards, that's what they are. On Inventor's Fair and Deadlock Trap, and there's a couple others. that tell the story of the set just on 5 rares, and I thought that was a really cool idea.
Absolutely. So I thought that Kaladesh did some really fun things. It gave us a brand new type of resource that we've never had before, a brand new card type that we've never had before. Incredibly exciting. Gave us basically the 5th rarity. Like the Wizards finally said, okay, we're going to have our super cool, shiny, uber super secret ghost rare type stuff. And that's what Mythics, that's what the masterpieces are at this point. And that's
I have
great.
to add something. I just received a tweet. Apparently there were other Black Planeswalkers. I believe Kai is the first Black woman, though. So I'm just going to clarify that. Because Lord knows they're firing up the Twitters. And they're just
Black female Planeswalker.
Yes.
Yeah. As opposed to Koth, who is not
Koth
human.
and Teferi.
And
I don't know, but just making sure.
And they got some points.
Teferi's,
we're not saying they're wrong.
Teferi's a human.
All right.
They're right.
So the winner for set of the year, the Micsie goes to Conspiracy to Take the Crown. Wow, Wizards! Wizards!
That's a little bit of an upset, honestly, to have the set of the year not be something legal in Standard, but they really killed it with Conspiracy 2. And honestly, for my money, second place was the Commander 2016. I just thought they just absolutely killed it with these supplemental products, but I had so much fun with Conspiracy 2.
I think Conspiracy 2 shows you a way to have fun with Magic that is just it's kind of what I feel like Unglued or Unhinged kind of wanted to be.
Yeah.
It's unrestrained because it doesn't need to care about what else is in Standard or what else is going to impact in Legacy, because who cares? Those formats are ridiculous. They can kind of make whatever they want. The cards are kind of insane when you kind of look at some of them, particularly the ones that care about when you draft them and stuff like that. You have this entirely new mechanic of the Monarch and whatnot, which is really cool idea. I mean, just one thing after another. The reprints were incredible. The set value is really high. Wizards just, I think, really did a great job on it. So congratulations to everybody involved in that. So we come to our last category.
Final category.
Our final Magic Micsie of the night, of the year.
This was a tough one.
Is Card of the Year. The 2016 Card of the Year Micsie. The first nominee, I will happily spoil. The first nominee for Card of the Year is Atraxa Praetor's Voice. Now, this is, for me, the #1 marquee card for Commander 2016. It is the #1 card. I have heard people just gush over left and right. The artwork is amazing. The abilities are amazing. The fact that it recalls back to Phyrexia, and there's a Phyrexian angel. Angels plus, like, Phyrexians doing the thing. Like, everything is great on this card. Everyone is super excited about what this card does. It's super sweet. It checks all the boxes. It makes everyone really excited. I think they did a fantastic job at everything they wanted to do with 4-color commanders. Not just this one, because we've already talked about a different 4-color commander, and I ain't doing it because I want to mispronounce it. But we've talked about it, and they're awesome, and Atraxa is incredibly awesome, and I think is well worth being a nominee for Card of the Year. Aaron,
absolutely.
What's our next nominee?
Well, we have talked about this card throughout the show, but my suggestion for Card of the Year was Smuggler's Copter. This was really hard to try to, we all had different criteria for what we look for in something as lofty as Card of the Year. And, this card busted down the doors. Vehicles are new. This card in particular has been called everything in the book from good, broken, busted. I know Mrs. Mulligan has been trying it in Modern. She's been trying Flying Merfolk. I believe it has seen play in Legacy or Vintage. I think someone was trying it at least. But the card is scary. This is one of those cards that was, if you could force it into a deck, you were going to. And there's just no denying this card is good. And this is one of the cards where when they announced that they were going back on the new Standard rotation, people were like, oh, more time with Standard or Smuggler's Copter. Yay! And so, it's not, no.
Yeah. So we got some more time with Smuggler's Copter, so it could get nominated next year as well. But yeah, I definitely remember doing some vintage matches with car shops, as it's called, in Vintage. So it's not the end of the line for Smuggler's Copter.
That's amazing. So Ruben, what is our next nominee for Card of the Year?
The next nominee for Card of the Year is Thought Not Seer. There was not a lot of love for Oath of the Gatewatch in this year's edition of the Micsies, but certainly one of the things that happened that was quite good, in addition to the re-emergence, if you pardon the pun, of Eldrazi, was the
I like it.
Welcome. Was the power of Thought Not Seer. Just it's amazing to think that you have this format where they're trying to make it we don't want people killing people on turn 2 or 3, so we have to ban all these cards. And somehow this 4-mana Thoughtseize on a stick becomes the best thing that you can be doing by far. It took the Pro Tour by storm. It took Legacy by storm. It was the most popular deck in Legacy. It unseated Miracles for the number of top 8s over a 3-month span for the first time in something like 3 years. It's played in every format. It's a super powerful card, and people also love it. It's a fun card to play with. It's an interesting card to play against. It's just a 4/4. I mean, it's a 4/4 for 4. It's you can deal with it. It's quite good. But it all of this together somehow became this unstoppable monster in every format. And so Thought Not Seer is a worthy nominee for Card of the Year.
Yeah.
Wow. So our final nominee for Card of the Year is Gideon, Ally of Zendikar. Now, Wizards of the Coast, look.
Pull up the chair.
I think Wizards of the Coast, and I'm going to be blunt, I'm going to be super honest right here. I think they screwed up Zendikar when they went for Battle for Zendikar. I think they straight up punted it. I think everybody was excited. I hadn't seen that type of excitement since we came back to Ravnica. Everyone was flipping out. Battle for Zendikar. Zendikar's back. Everybody loves Zendikar. So many awesome things about Zendikar. Oh my God, Zendikar. Oh my God. What did you do to Zendikar? Why are we in Rise of the Eldrazi again? No one likes it here. Why are we here? And they're like, but look at this awesome Planeswalker. And we're like, what? And it's just the best thing you can do for the next year is friggin' Gideon. It's still into 2017. It's going to be one of the best things you can do when you're playing these free spells is to drop a free Gideon. So Gideon, Ally of Zendikar, has absolutely ran part of Standard, some section, some chunk of Standard, pretty much the entire time. It's been nonstop. This card
nonstop Gideon throughout 2016. It's and through 27, a lot of 2017 as well. I think there was an episode several episodes ago where I mentioned that the cost of a Gideon on Magic Online is more than the cost of the Gideon, or the more than the rest of the set put together, which is ridiculous. Gideon, just a super powerhouse. Green-white tokens being one of the best decks for a long time, another worthy consideration.
Right. And
I even saw it in an older format. I don't remember if it was Legacy or Vintage, but I know I was streaming one night and I was doing some discard spell. And I was expecting to see like the usual suspects, like Mom, Thalia, whatever. And all of a sudden I'm like, Gideon? Yeah. Like, this isn't Standard, right? And I was like, oh my God, it's in other formats.
It's so good. Now, I would note that this list and these cards are not necessarily been printed in 2016. This is about what was the biggest thing in 2016. Right. What cards took over, were showcased, had the most impact.
Our most hated card of the year was from Dragons of Tarkir, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Collect Company. So
there you go.
It's not Fate Reforged. It would be Dragons of Tarkir. So I mean.
However, here we are, the big one, the Magic Mixie for Card of the Year 2016 goes to Thought Not Seer. Congratulations, Thought Not Seer. You're busted. You're really way too good for what you do.
All formats, it took a Pro Tour by storm, just out of nowhere, really.
I lost to Thought Not Seer, like playing ad nauseum. Do you know how many times it would eat my one copy of Lightning Storm? Yeah. Right? Not fun.
I mean, look, you got to give it up to the guy. Thought Not Seer has just went everywhere. It didn't just take over one format. It showcased in all the formats.
Right.
Thought Not Seer, you did it. Congratulations.
Yeah, but the good news is that if you kill a Thought Not Seer and you're playing Dredge, you can Dredge instead of draw.
Wow. There you go.
Fun fact. Yeah.
So, but now, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much for hanging out and listening to us, checking out the 2016 Micsies. You are awesome. I can't wait to do this again next year. I want to prep for it a little bit better. We're going to have some cooler graphics.
You're going to wear a tie next time?
I'm going to find my tie next year. It's going to be great.
I'm going to buy Evan a tie.
He's going to buy me a ridiculous tie. I'll wear whatever tie he buys me. It has
martinis on it.
It's got martinis. But that means that we turn the corner to the finisher.
Right, real quick before we turn the corner all the way, we're going to do all the spoilers next week. I know that everybody was like, "When are you doing spoilers? When are you doing spoilers?" We don't have any time to do spoilers. We're doing all the spoilers next. We're doing all the spoilers next week.
Right.
Except for Trapper Keeper, which we spoiled this week.
Yeah. Trapper Keeper's cool. No, come on, he's totally like the Trapper Keeper. I think that's a great name.
Trapper Keeper.
I'll dig it. But again, next week we're going to be nonstop spoilers. Wizards.
Yep.
I don't know if I really agree with this 1 week of like everybody gets all the spoilers all the time. Oh my god, like drinking from the fire hose for like 4 days and doing the whole set. But like, okay,
yeah, sure, why not?
Sure,
give it a shot.
But next week we have all sorts of awesome things to talk about, and we assure you we want to talk about those big cards as much as you want to hear about them. However, 2017 looks to be a banner year for Magic the Gathering, with lots of excitement on the horizon, starting with Aether Revolt official preview, seeing how Chris Cox and Magic Digital Next pan out, and the big triple Grand Prix in Vegas at Ruben's new house. Ruben,
yeah, man, everybody come over.
Hosting them.
I'm hosting 3 Grand Prix. I'm hosting 3 Grand Prix at my house. Everybody's invited.
It's a big house. It's got like some balloons out front. Can't miss
What's the prize support like, Ruben?
We have a lot of cereal. So first prize gets to have some cereal. That's about it. That's what I got for you.
And you,
second place gets a martini tie.
Third place says you're fired. All right, so
yes.
So if you're looking a year ahead at the second annual Micsies, what are you expecting to see a dozen months down the line, Aaron?
All right. Well, after Cathartic Reunion's nomination for Artwork of the Year this year, what with being a gift from Jesus and all, I am hoping it goes back to back and gets nominated for Most Hated card because that means Dredge is great, and if Dredge is great, then Aaron's happy.
That's right. That's the chart right there. That's the flow chart. That's how it works. Ruben?
Very good. I'm excited for Frontier to go back to back as format of the year just to see Evan's head explode. I just want his eraser head to just
just straight eraser
one
head.
Side, the other.
These Micsies were built around discussions and us all agreeing on things. We didn't all agree on things.
No.
I've talked about Frontier. I've talked about Frontier in much the same way I talked about getting rid of Modern as a Pro Tour. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. However, all I am hoping for is for our list of nominations for WotC's dumbest move next year to be a little bit shorter than this year's, but come on.
Yeah. Girl, that's not going to happen.
Girl,
we ain't going to have a shorter list.
No, we got all sorts of cray stuff going up on there. So, guys, thank you very much for dressing up and hanging out with me this week. As always, Aaron, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You look great. Ruben, thanks for hanging out, buddy.
Well, thank you.
You rock that bow tie.
I try my best.
Like a hurricane, sir.
Bow ties are Ruben Hurricane Carter? Is that the joke we were making?
Something like that.
Like a Ruben cane.
There we go.
Nice.
This was fun.
So we're going to move on to our final slide. And that ends another episode of Magic Mics. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. I want to thank my co-hosts, you guys, for watching, and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Visit our website at magicmicspodcast.com that exists thanks to our Patreon supporters. Or follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, do everything social that tells people that we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv/magicmics, on Twitter at magicmicecast, on Reddit at reddit.com/r/magicmics, and on Facebook at facebook.com/magicmics. Talk to us privately at magicmicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.